What's going on, wrestling fans? Jeff Upson. I'm joined by Paul Myers and Tyler Morder, and this is the PA Power Hour. We're going to be breaking down the entire state duel tournament that's coming up tomorrow at Altoona High School. And mainly, we're going to talk a lot about the number one versus number two, not only in the state, but the nation between Bishop McCort and Faith Christian. But I got to give it to you guys. Paul, you had a match that got canceled, so you're no longer officiating that. Mortar, you got type A bird flu or something like that. I'm a little bit worried about you, but I'm glad you're here. You okay, guys? You all right?
We're good.
Yeah, I'm super relaxed. No match tonight. It was like I was just counting down the time till we can get on and talk about some wrestling.
Tyler, despite you just being at Med Express, you're here in the flesh, barely alive, and ready to talk some wrestling. So if that doesn't get you any fans, I don't know what will, because it's certainly not. You know how we used to call like the Four Horsemen. Paul, I know you remember this. And Dustin quit. Mitch Rupert is in San Diego. Tom Hausnick is probably covering the Iron Pigs right now. But since you guys are both officials, I think it should be called like the Horsemen and the Two Zebras. What do you think about that? Like,
There we go.
Paul
Yeah,
doesn't like it.
let's go with that.
I liked it. I thought it was clever and cheesy at
Jeff
the
is the
same.
horseman.
I'm the horsemen and the zebras. Well, so we're in the eve of the state duel tournament. Obviously, first year that it's not at the Giant Center, but that's nice for all three of us because it's closer for us. But maybe not the same feel or vibe this year. Which we could spend an entire episode on just that, but we're not going to waste your time with airing that grievance of the state tournament being at Altoona High School. We're going to break down the quarterfinals in AA and AAA. We're going to talk about the semifinals, our predictions, and then our predictions for the finals in both AA and AAA. Again, wrestling starts tomorrow, 5 o'clock. That's when the quarterfinals will start in AA and then followed by AAA. So let's start at the top here. Faith Christian Academy versus Burrell. Faith Christian, by all accounts, depending on the publication you look at, they're number one in the nation. And Burrell, they're a Whitfield champion again. This is, I think, out of 18 years, this is 15 titles for them. They're kind of a staple here in the WPIL, but they have their work cut out for them. Do either of you guys, and I'll start with you, Paul. Is this going to be a Faith Christian goes out and shuts them out again? Because, I mean, it's not a lot of people score points on Faith Christian, Paul.
I mean, realistically, I think the only two matches that they win are going to be 133, 139. Everywhere else, Faith Christian is just so deep. Not taking anything away from Burrell, they got a strong team. It's just that where they're strong, Faith Christian is really strong.
Yeah.
So, definitely see Faith just rolling through that one relatively easy.
Tyler, we talked about how Cam Baker potentially could bump up to 33, right? He had just wrestled Eric Carlisle. He beat him 9-8 in that opening round of the state duel tournament. And Eric, we know he's been on fire this year. So Cam Baker, that's a really good win for him. They could bump him up, right? But outside of that, I mean, there's really no wiggle room for Burrell, right? I think this is going to be Faith pretty easily, and I think if you're Burrell, you're just trying to, I'd like to see where Isaac Lisinski is, with him potentially going against Nick Singer. But that's the other thing. It's, does Faith rest some of their guys? I don't know, right? Just a thought, right?
Yeah, I don't think that you rest your guys in state duels. I think they're gonna, let those guys go out and get started. I mean, they're gonna be hungry. They're looking forward to that final with Bishop McCort. I think they're gonna just let them loose.
Let the big dogs eat.
The big dogs eat. Paul, before the show started, we had talked about some of our best quarterfinal matchups, and I think when Greg and I did our show and War Up last night, I think I said this might be the best quarterfinal match in AA. Bishop McDevitt versus Cathedral Prep. Bishop McDevitt, has been the number 3 team in the state all year. The pecking order has always been the same: Faith, Bishop McCort, and Bishop McDevitt. I would put Bishop McCort and Faith Christian in one tier, and then Bishop McDevitt on another tier, and then the rest, like 4, 5, 6, 7, in another one. Bishop McDevitt's really good. They're really solid, Tyler. I know you've been keeping a close eye on them and getting to watch them a lot, but Cathedral Prep, this is an interesting one because Cathedral Prep, in the 25 dual meets that they've had, and I said this yesterday, they've wrestled like 18 different lineups. They have a ton of flexibility, and they have guys that they can plug in the upper weights and the lower weights that allows them to move guys around a lot. On paper, Bishop McDevitt should win this match without any issue. But when you look a little bit deeper, there could be a lot of really good individual matches within this overall dual meet. I'll start with you, Tyler. What do you like about this dual meet? What are some of the matches you may be looking forward to if they do hit here at Bishop McDevitt and Cathedral Prep?
One match that I definitely have my eye on is at 127, where Camden Barrero's coming off a couple big wins over Tanner Hamilton, Rocky Cow,
Yep.
and going up against Grayson Music, returning state runner-up. Another one that kind of intrigues me a little bit is Keegan Oler, 34-0 on the year, going up against Camden Baum at 139. And then another one that I'm looking at is Gabe Dorman and Ryan Lawler at 152.
Yeah, and you look at who, the Cathedral Prep guys, they have a couple young freshmen, and you had mentioned Barrero. I think you and I talked earlier this week, and you're like, you got to move him up in the rankings, right? He had a good weekend, right? And he moved up to number 12 in the state as a freshman. Had a couple good wins, but I think there's just too much firepower that McDevitt has, right? There is nowhere. I mean, they have a few, I'll call them holes, right? They have guys that are not top 25 in the state, but even those guys are still really, really tough. Paul, what makes you think that this is going to be an exciting match? And do you think it's maybe even the team scores lopsided? Do you still think there's going to be some good matches in between?
Yeah, I mean, I still think there's going to be some of those good matches that Tyler mentioned. Obviously, McDevitt's wrestled a stronger schedule than Erie Cathedral Prep, so some of their guys might have a few losses compared to like Keegan Oler, for example. I'm not taking anything away from an undefeated record, but I mean, he's going up against Camden Baum, I mean, he's obviously a stud. But there are some really good matchups here. I realistically think McDevitt's just too strong from top to bottom for Erie Cathedral Prep to really make it too much of a match.
And I'm curious to see where some of these guys weigh in at, because you had mentioned with Oler, whether he's at 33 or 39. I think him and Zane Krause, that could be a really good match if he's down at 33. Gabe Dorman, like you mentioned, Tyler, him at 145. They have a lot of these guys. I wouldn't say they have one like, hey, he's a sure lock-in state medalist, right? They have a lot of guys that are state qualifiers, and a lot of those guys are in the hunt, right? Whereas,
I mean,
like
if I'm Cathedral Prep, I'm trying to get Oler on Krause before I'm trying to put him on Camden Baum for sure.
For sure, yeah.
I mean, there's some way, like you said, you're wondering where they're going to weigh in at. Like, I mean, that's going to be a big key for them in this match.
Right.
Just trying to get the right matchups compared to where McDevitt's really strong against some of their guys that are not as strong.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Cathedral Prep; they have options with Crockett, they have Bird, they have Martucci as well at 72. Like, all these guys can battle, right? I think within the whole dual meet, there's going to be a lot of good individual matches, and again, which we're going to talk about a lot tonight, is it's all about where guys are and it's all about matchups. And again, Bishop McDevitt has more firepower, so I'm not necessarily saying Cathedral perhaps going to upset them, but you're right. It should be a competitive match if you're looking for one in the quarterfinals. If you move down to Chestnut Ridge and Berks Catholic, were either of you guys surprised that Chestnut Ridge got past Derry? Paul, were you? I know we got to see
Yeah,
Derry a lot.
I mean, Chestnut Ridge won a lot of the toss-up matches there.
I
That
think they won
really
every
made
toss-up
the
match,
yeah,
right?
yeah. That's what made the difference.
And they got bonus points in a lot of those wins that they needed to. All the guys, all the studs that they needed to, basically got bonus points. So that to me was the score was very intriguing to me because I was not I had Derry winning that in a close match, but Chestnut Ridge just took it to them.
Experience.
Yeah, and they kind of live for that state tournament. Okay, so Tyler, what do you make of Chestnut Ridge and Berks Catholic? Berks Catholic is good.
Yeah,
They've got a
like
lot of freshmen.
kind of like the Faith Christian Burrell match. I think Burks just has too much firepower, and they're able to make some moves. Starting at 107, I think Burks is favored there. There's maybe two or three matches where
But
I think on
that should be
paper
a
that
good 107 could be that could be a really good match, right? Because both
it
those
could be a good,
guys,
yeah,
I mean, Wyant's ranked number 7 in the state. Trap Walsh is number 10, right? So I mean,
yep.
I know you're a big Trap Walsh
And
fan though.
then and then I like Paul said earlier before the show, I think Chestnut Ridge might look to get Maul off of Schumann and move him up to 121 against Neil Bidding. Um, Dom Deputy, he's favored in at 127. But from 130, 133 up, I think Burks is pretty favored.
Yeah, I still think they try to get Dom up to 33 against Hartramp too.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't
I
really
think
think it
there's
makes a big difference at 27. I mean, I think I just feel like they're usually getting Dom to the better wrestler um, out of those weights. So
yeah. And the other question is, does Jaden Imler wrestle too? Right? He'd been in and out of the lineup. So
where's he going to be? I mean, I'm sure that he would be on his way down to 172.
right,
Because I mean, he was weighing in light at 89, and I talked to him at Midwinter Mayhem whenever he was in the JV tournament. I asked him if he was going down to 72, and he said that he was.
right.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, obviously that helps getting him in if they can,
yeah,
right?
I'd rather wrestle Juan Franco than
Well,
any of the.
Lindsay's down to 72.
Right, Lindsay coming down to 72. I mean, Burks has they have some flexibility too, but with those guys down, especially in the middle upper weights, they're kind of locked into those areas. But I expect Burks to come out on top here. But Chestnut Ridge
Yeah,
is always willing and capable to battle there. Um, let's move down to Montoursville and Bishop McCort. Obviously, we know how good Bishop McCort is. But if you look at this on paper, this is a 2 versus 4, right? So you have the number 2 ranked team in the state versus the number 4 ranked team in the state. In any other world, that would be a really good dual meet. But in this one, it's just like, okay, how much can Montoursville withstand? I'll start with you, Paul. What are some of the matches individually you may be looking forward to, and where can Montoursville get some wins?
yeah. I mean, I'm interested to see how like Sylphies and Carfley. They don't have the best record, but I mean, they're wrestling a really tough schedule.
Yeah,
Seeing them against like Labotis and David Kennedy there. Um, Seeing it like I would imagine Melvin would bump up to Gage Wenzel at
I was
172.
just going to ask that if you thought they were going to bump him up. I mean, I'd love to see a Gage Wenzel and Melvin Miller match, personally.
Yeah. The only thing I'm wondering is like, is Jackson Butler healthy? I know he's had the flu and he's been out for a while, so I don't know if he'll be in the lineup. I would imagine going to the state dual tournament that they're going to try to have everybody weighed in and ready to go.
Yeah.
But I mean, from 114 all the way up to 172, they can bump there. So Uh, my guess is Melvin would go up to 72 and wrestle Gage, which would be a very
Probably
interesting
one of the
match.
best matches of the duel, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
And then at heavyweight, seeing where Caleb Rodriguez is at with Landon Moorhart.
yeah.
I mean, aside from that, I really think McCort just has way too much firepower.
Yeah, and 27, David Kennedy, I like him, and see who he gets, and Carfley has been, I feel like he hasn't been in the lineup for more than a couple weeks without taking, being out. So I really want to see him compete all throughout the weekend, and get to see him on some of these guys, because it's hard to kind of gauge and where they are in the pecking order. I agree with you at 285 with Caleb Rodriguez to see, because Landon Moorhart's a big 285. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
a pretty good sized heavyweight. I would love to see Melvin on Gage Wenzel, but to be honest, I'd also like to see Penserio, to see where he's at with a guy like Gage Wenzel, right?
Yeah.
So as much as obviously I want to see Melvin, but I also, for rankings purposes, it's like, okay, like Penseiro was close with Brady Collins at LHAC, but not necessarily at Midwinter Mayhem. So to kind of see where he's at, Tyler, when you look at this, what stands out to you?
Um, Same thing as Paul said. I'm a couple of those matchups. I'm looking forward to that Melvin Miller and Gage Wenzel match. But again, like Paul said, I think McCord has a little too much firepower for
Do you
Montoursville
think?
here.
Do you think Melvin weighs in heavy on Friday?
I do not.
Okay, so it's not like he would have to bump up there. It's not like he would weigh in there. You think?
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that they would. I, I don't think.
I don't know. I mean, I
No.
know.
I don't think there's a reason to.
Yeah, yeah, right. Um, all right, so I think we all are in agreement who we have going into the semifinals, right? Faith Christian versus Bishop McDevitt, Berks Catholic versus Bishop McCort, right? We all have that.
Yep,
All right,
that's what I got.
let's put a bookmark on that, and then let's head over to AAA. AAA, and I had mentioned this last night on War Up. There's a lot more parity, and there's a lot more matches that I'm like, I really don't know who's going to win this one.
Yeah.
And it starts at the top with Franklin Regional and Nazareth. I didn't do this all, matchup wise a whole lot before this week, but I was kind of curious, and I started looking at some of these, especially now that Nazareth has Tahir Parkins down to 39, Campbell down to 33, and they have the ability to plug in freshman Chase Brown. Franklin Regional and Nazareth is going to be a barn burner. The more I look at that, the closer I think it's going to be. Franklin Regional from top to bottom is pretty darn solid. They only have a few spots where they can really be exposed. For the most part, all their guys are going to battle. So for me personally, I think this is going to come down to, can Nazareth's sort of second tier guys, not the stars, can they battle? Can they win the toss up matches? Because there would be a couple toss up matches, and then also, can those guys from Nazareth withstand some bonus points that Franklin Regional typically gets throughout the middleweights? They're really good from 27 all the way through 145 with freshman Max Firestein. So I like this matchup a lot. I still think Nazareth has a little bit more in the tank. But what about you guys? What do you, Paul? I'll start with you. What do you think of this Nazareth Franklin Regional matchup?
I mean, just like you said, from 127 all the way to 160, there's going to be some really good matches. I was also saying to Tyler, like, I think there's a lot more unknowns in the AAA matches because these guys have so many people on their roster
Yeah, right.
that, I mean, you can have moves everywhere. Like they have multiple guys at most weights. So it kind of makes it hard to kind of predict where you're going to see everybody. But I mean, from 127 to 160, there's likely really good matchups all the way through there, and it's just a matter of where you get your matchups at to get bonus points, not give up bonus points. That's really going to make the difference here.
Yeah, and when I look at it, I mean, from the state ranking standpoint, Nazareth they have a lot of guys in the state rankings. Franklin Regional has a lot of guys in the state rankings, but a lot of bubble guys too, like guys that are close. Tyler, you maybe not get to see a ton of these guys, but what do you kind of echoing what Paul said? Looking at their lineups, and that's kind of the difference between AA and AAA in a lot of ways, is the amount of guys that they have at their disposal. It's pretty unique, right? Especially Nazareth. Nazareth is just, I mean, they have their blue and white team coming up through junior high. Like they've got a lot of guys that can come out, and they can kind of come at you with different lineups every time.
Yeah, I mean, like Paul said, from 27 up to, I'm looking 160. Those matches, I think a lot of them are going to be toss-ups. And who's going to ride the momentum? Who's gonna go out and, like Paul said, get the bonus points? Who's going to eliminate the bonus points? Who's going to win that toss-up match to turn the momentum? Um, I think I personally think Nazareth is a little more battle tested coming out of that strong District 11, which gives them a little more favoritism from me. But I think it's going to be a heck of a duel.
And on paper, if Franklin Regional can expose Nazareth at 107 and 114, they need to get bonus there, and they need to limit bonus between 60 and 189, because you have Cade Campbell, who's a guy who gets bonus points a lot of times. You have Simac. You also have Zurcher at 189, who's ranked number 6 in the state, 2-time state qualifier. I would assume Franklin Regional puts Pats up and puts in John Montgomery at 89 to limit those bonus points. But to be honest with you, I think Nazareth's going to get a lot of bonus points throughout that middle upper weights. Tahir Parkins and Jack Campbell are both guys that are going to need to get bonus points too on some really tough kids, right? It's just a matter of, do they get it done, right? And obviously the starting weight's important.
I know that like Tahir's down at 139 now, but I still think you keep him up at 145 to try to get bonus points at both weights then.
Yeah, keep Campbell up at 39 and keep Parkins up at
45.
Yeah, I mean that probably would make sense, but again, I think the flip's important. I think the starting weight's important. I think again, a lot of freshmen on Franklin Regional that need to step up and get bonus points, especially at 7, 14, which I do think they're pretty heavily favored at 7 and 14. 21, the tide turns to Nazareth a little bit. But yeah, I again, should be a lot of good individual battles. And again, I think Nazareth just has maybe a little bit more. Let's move on to the next one here. That is Boyertown versus Central Mountain. And I joked yesterday in War Up that I feel like I've just been following Central Mountain around all year. Paul, you kind of are in the same boat. Although you skipped out on the County duels, man. You sent Dane instead, which no thanks to me.
Yeah, I just knew they were going to walk through it, so I knew I'd see them too much this year.
I'll tell that to Dirk. Yeah, I mean, Central Mountain, I feel like I've seen them everywhere. I got to see them a lot. And I'll tell you what, Biff Walliser and his crew, man, they find ways to get the most out of their guys. Like, there's a lot of times where he's like, I don't really know how good they're going to be. We got to see both Boyertown and Central Mountain at the King of the Mountain. And what I noticed is, they didn't hit head-to-head a whole lot, but there were a lot of comparables between both schools, and depending on where the guys are at. I think this is a pretty close match. I think Boyertown is pretty solid, but Central Mountain has some areas where they're going to get bonus points, right? It's just a matter of like we talked about in the last one, where I think Nazareth has a little bit more firepower. I think Central Mountain has to really, where they're not great, they have to really limit some bonus points. So, Paul, what do you say? Because you got to see Central Mountain a whole bunch. how do you think they fare against a really balanced Boyertown team?
Yeah, I mean, Central Mountain's really gritty. Um, Biff coaches them very well. He moves them around very well where they need to be to try to maximize their bonus points. Boyertown is very balanced. I mean, from top to bottom, they're very well balanced. Um, I think it's going to come down to Central Mountain not giving up bonus points at certain weights. But I mean, this might be one of the best stools of the quarterfinals here. Um, I mean, between this and the next one, between Council Rock South and Connellsville, but
Yeah. I mean, personally, I like all the quarterfinals in AAA. There was a couple guys that like on Boyertown. It's like depending on what wrestler shows up, like Beck Bab. Not I don't want to use the word inconsistent, but he's had some matches that you're like, man, this guy's he looks really good. He's definitely gonna be a state qualifier, maybe even a state medalist. And there's other times you're like, what just happened, right? I think he's critical there at 39 because they're obviously want to keep him away from Dalton Perry. The other
yeah,
question is, do they chase? At 45 they have Stanica, and they also have Dikey at 52. Boyertown does so. I think it comes down to the weights where you don't have those ranked wrestlers like 107, and really the heavyweights. The heavyweights, the 89, 215, and 285 for both schools, I think is going to be, they're pretty evenly matched in some of those weights. So to me, I feel like if you can win those, you're obviously in a good position. Tyler, what do you make of this matchup?
Yeah, it's like you guys have said. I think your guys that are your studs are going to go out for Central Mountain and get the bonus points, and it's going to be the guys that not limiting the bonus points, gotten out a win here and there, and like I said, I think it's gonna be a nail biter here.
Yeah, and I think flip's important. Who controls some of those weights throughout the middle, and you know, I want to I don't know. I really I've done this matchup a couple times, and I can see it going a many different ways. I think Boyertown is just. I think they're going to win some of those swing matches up top. Um, I don't know. Let's move on to the next one because this is another District 1 team, Council Rock South. They're going to be taking on Connellsville. This to me is not saying that Franklin Regional and Nazareth is not going to be the best one, but if there's a close second, I think it's Council Rock South and Connellsville. Boyertown Central Mountain obviously is going to be pretty good as well. But Connellsville and Council Rock South is just so intriguing to me because you have two teams opposite side of the states, very different areas in which the schools are. You have one in Fayette County, the other one, kind of a nice suburb outside of Philadelphia. Both these teams have a ton of tradition. The Council Rock South team is always one of the best in the district, if not the best in the district, in District 1. Connellsville is on a big upswing right now. I don't know. This one has a lot of good individual matches. The interesting piece here is Connellsville went out to Council Rock South to compete in Escape the Rock. We got to see some head-to-heads, so we kind of have an idea where some of these guys may be. But for me, Council Rock South, they have a lot of firepower, but they have some other areas where they're just not as solid. And for Connellsville, they're pretty good throughout. They have a couple weights where they're questionable. I think 285 is going to be really, really key in this matchup. And I also look at like a 189 potentially being a pretty key matchup. Tyler, I'll start with you. Connellsville, Council Rock South, there's going to be a lot of battles within that war.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see if Connellsville bumps Lonzy up to wrestle Gavin Cole at 172, which would be a rematch from I believe those two wrestled last year.
Yes.
Um, and then Anthony Mutarelli and Kai Vilma.
I would love
I'm
to
kind
see.
of intrigued about that.
I would love to see that match.
Um, yeah, I think this is going to be another good match. It's going to come down to where the coaches get the matchups that they want, and and get the bonus where they need to get the bonus.
Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you have to have that matchup at 139 between Kai and Mutarelli. Um, I don't know how you're going to benefit from bumping him up to 45. I think that's a big swing match in this duel. Also, like you said, at 189 and 285. I mean, those aren't your high level matchups that you're looking for throughout the duel, but those are the ones that can make a big difference in something that's going to be as close as this.
So you're saying move Mutarelli up from 33 to 39 and
Yeah,
move Woolashan up from 39 to 45?
yeah, that's how I mean I would do it throughout there. I would try to get Mutarelli on Vielma to hopefully get
To sort
the
of, yeah,
Win, win that
balance
match.
it out. Yeah, win
yeah,
that
to
match. I mean, I think that's a big
neutralize one of
swing
their
match.
biggest guns, right?
Yep.
Um, I would agree with you there, and um, I mean Woolashan's really tough too. Pat
Yeah.
Woolashan, him going up to 45 against Ruggieri, I think he gets a win there. Um, I think I agree with you. Keep Petrovic at 52,
Hmm.
Lonzi up at 60. That kind of makes the most sense. Try to avoid bonus points at 172. Again, I think 89 is a key matchup, and so is heavyweight, because they have Gessner and Coswell has Gallus, and Gallus has been out for most of the year. Gessner has had an up and down year, but he's got a lot of experience. So,
Yeah.
can to me, can Coswell get bonus at 7? Sagada's tough. Can they get bonus points at 14? 21, I
I
think
mean,
they can get bonus points
that's
there too.
another spot. Like I'm gonna try to get Sagata to 114 and try to go maybe 6 for 6 there.
I mean, you're saying put Sagata up to 114 against Zach Franks?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Zach Franks is favored there for sure. Um, I would. I mean, I think they would probably keep him down at 7 to give him a chance against Gretz, and as opposed to giving up weight against a pretty tough Zach Franks. I don't. I
Yeah.
mean, again, it's hard to say without seeing the weigh-in sheets where these guys are and where they could potentially go. But
Yeah. There's just so many guys, like you said, you don't know where they're gonna
yeah, I
weigh
mean
in
they could
and
weigh in
where they're gonna
Mutarelli
look for
high.
matchups.
Yeah, they could weigh in some, and that's the other thing. And you guys know this as being officials, but the scent plans, you're coming up to that point where you can't really mess around too much with the scent plans. So you have to be careful.
Yeah, and the big thing is weighing in guys heavy. You only have that one match
Yeah.
to look
Yeah,
forward to
especially
on
for
Friday.
Friday. I mean, that's all there is, right? So is it
Hmm.
really worth it? Let's move on to Counts Rock North versus Bethlehem Catholic. We obviously know how good Bethlehem Catholic is, but for Counts Rock North, they're a solid team, but they just don't have enough. There's going to be some good individual matches depending on where Ed and Cement goes, but I really don't. I don't see a pathway for Council Rock North to get a win here. Tyler, we'll start with you. You see anything different, or do you see any individual matchups that you're looking forward to?
I mean, there's really nothing that sticks out to me. I think this is going to be Becca to pretty handedly.
I mean, okay. I'll before I jump in, Paul. What do you got?
Back up big.
Becca Bay, Becca Bay. Okay, jeez, no love for Council Rock North. I think 33, depending on if they have Pierce Kane in. I think that's a pretty big matchup with him at 33 against Ryder Campbell. Campbell's had a kind of up and down year a little bit. Kane's looked pretty solid, so I think that could be a nice swing match there for Council Rock North. And again, Cement, wherever which I assume he'll go 45. But if he does go there, you expect him to get bonus points on Mason Thomas. But Becca has traditionally been able to plug in a bunch of different wrestlers, and much like we talked about with like Nazareth, they have so many options to go in different ways. I would say Becca big for sure, but I think there will be some intrigue with some of these individual matchups as well. All right, so let's go semifinals. What do you guys got? Who do you got coming out on the top? Start with you, Paul.
Nazareth.
Okay. Who else on that top half?
Nazareth and Boyertown.
Ooh, Biff's gonna be mad at you. Tyler?
That's gonna be
I'm
such a good match, though.
I'm going Mifflin, or I'm going Central Mountain and Nazareth in the top quadrant.
Whew. All right, Biff, you're looking for some Central Mountain gear.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm looking for some swag.
Some swag. I look at Paul. Paul's got it right there, and he picked against him. What an asshole! All right. Well,
Come on, Biff. Prove me wrong, Biff.
I'm going Nazareth and Boyertown. So Matt Leby and Biff Walliser are both not going to be happy with me, but I am going Nazareth.
I love them.
The nice thing is you pick against you pick against teams that like they're not going to at least get too offended. Although you just never know. I love you both. Yeah, I think that's gonna. But I have more faith in Nazareth being Franklin Regional than I do Boyertown being Central Mountain, if that makes sense. Let's go to the bottom. Tyler, what do you got on the bottom?
I'm going to go Connellsville Becca.
Paul?
Connellsville Becca.
All right. I got the same. I got Connellsville and Becca. But never count out the Council Rock South Golden Hawks, man. Those guys are they always come prepared. And especially after seeing what Franklin Regional was able to do to expose Connellsville, I think Council Rock South is going to try to mimic that same plan. All right, well, let's switch back over to Double A. We got our semifinals set where we think they're going to be Faith Christian and Bishop McDevitt. Tyler, this is your region, man. Like you know these guys pretty well. There's going to be a lot of really good individual matches. This is the number 1 versus number 3, but in the nation, Bishop McDevitt's top 20 in a lot of publications.
I think I saw him 10.
Yeah, I saw them 10 in one of them. This is not going to be an easy match for Faith Christian. I mean, I do expect them to win it, but my God, like there's going to be a ton of really good individual matchups. Tyler, I know you've done it a couple times and looked at the matchups. What do you have it, and where do you see it going?
I think Faith has more firepower. Couple matches I'm looking to see Joey Bachman and Grayson Music again. That was a UTB a couple weeks ago. Max Stein, Ryan Lawler, always a 1-point match.
I agree. And
Lucas Lawler and Jason Singer, always a 1-point match, always a close match. I mean, if all 3 of those matches go McDevitt's way, I mean that's a big swing. So I wouldn't say that it's a shoe-in for Faith, but I think I gut feeling I have Faith Christian.
So you had talked about Stein and Lawler. I mean that's 2 and 3 in the state. With 27, that is 1 and 2 in the state, right? I mean, like you said, that was UTB. So we're talking about fractions of differences between these two.
You got Singer and Lawler, which is what, 2-3?
Yeah. Now the question is how what type of shape is Jason in, like health wise? I know they held him out of the coal cracker. And I know he was battling some injuries earlier in the season, but if he's healthy, we're going to see a 2 and 3 again. So you're right. If McDevitt can win those swing matches, now there are some weights where I think McDevitt is favored too, right? Would you agree, Tyler?
They're gonna bonus at 33-39, I would think, and then also they're favored at 107 for some bonus. I mean, I think it could be pretty tight.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they get bonus at 7, that's huge. Shane Young would not be happy with you for saying that, but I do believe that Bishop McDevitt's thinking, okay, we can get bonus at 7. 14, you're trying to minimize those bonus points, but I think that's going to be pretty tough for either Aiken Smith or Clip, whoever gets the nod there. And then 21, Gage Botero has to come out and do his job against Liam Lawler. I think he's got to get bonus points there too.
I think he
Yep.
does.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Paul, please, what's your insight?
Yeah, I mean everything that Tyler said. I mean 152 is like Steen and Lawler are just two totally different wrestling styles. I
Yeah,
mean, you have Lawler that likes to go out there and score points, and then you have Max Steen that's really long and leechy, um, hard to score on. I mean, that's a huge toss up match that could make a big difference in this duel. Like you said, I mean, is Singer healthy? Um, Lucas Lawler's big. I mean, there's a ton of great matchups up and down this lineup.
Tyler, you look
It's
at
gonna be a,
Tyler. You said 33. Zane Krause gets bonus points. 39. Camden
Mhm.
Baum gets bonus points. Right.
Yep.
You had said 7. They could potentially get bonus points.
Yep.
Those are a couple. Now let's say they win some of those swing matches. Let's say they win. Well, I'll go out on a limb and say they win 27. They win 52. They win 215.
215.
What then what are we looking at? I mean, you've done this. What do you think? Is there a path? Is there a path?
oh yeah,
I think there's a path, but I think all stars are going to have to align for McDevitt for it to happen.
They're going to have to win all the swing matches.
All
Get
the
bonus
swing,
and
they're
all
going to have to
those.
bonus
Yeah.
at 7, and then they're going to have to limit the bonus at, I mean, 160. I think they got a limit bonus there. I think you got
Yeah.
to try to limit bonus at 145. Easton Comp and Mason or Shane Wagner. I think it's huge if Liam Lawler can limit bonus to Botero. Um,
That's a tall task.
it's gonna come down to things like those.
Yeah, I mean, you had mentioned like 72. Nick Singer, I think they're going to be looking to him to get bonus points. 60. Chase Hans got to get bonus points there, and of course, Effendian at 285. I would say he's got to get bonus points, which he typically does. But the McDevitt heavyweight's not bad. Like he can battle. He's a big heavyweight. But
Never know what's gonna happen with those heavyweights either.
yeah,
which way they fall.
yeah, you're right. So Paul, you said there's definitely a path, but everything's got to go McDevitt's way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could see a path for them getting the win, but I think if Faith wins, the score's not going to be indicative of like how the match went. You
Yeah,
know, like I could
yeah.
see it being a 40 something to 20 something where you see a 20-point differential in a duel and you're like, man, that wasn't even that close. But up and down the lineup, you got some bangers
Yeah.
that might not have gone their way. Um,
One path I can see is if McDevitt weighs Hans Guilfoyle in at 139,
I was
which is
thinking
one of
this.
the
I was
weaker
thinking the
spots
same thing. I was thinking the same thing.
and then bump Baum up to Wagner, bump Comp up to Stein, which I don't know if Stein would get bonus against Easton Comp. Lawler and Hans, same as Stein. I
I
think
mean,
that would
Lawler
be
and Hans
another
have
good
wrestled.
match.
Yeah, they've wrestled like
I'm
30
pretty sure
times.
they've been one point matches, and then Nikki Negron
Yeah.
limit bonus points at 72 with Singer.
I agree with you. When I was looking at it, I was thinking Hans Guilfoyle, plug him in, bump, right, and try to get 4 of those matches potentially.
yeah,
That would be. I think you're going to see plug-in. I think you're going to see some plug-in. And again, the question is to me is Mason Wagner able to get down for Friday? Well, I guess Saturday will be the semifinal. So Saturday, can he get down to what would it be 42? Right? Can he
yeah.
can he make 42? And then Shane makes 48, right? Because that improves, and we're going to talk about that when we break down McCort and Faith Christian, but that would make a whole hell of a lot of difference there. I don't know. I think it's a long shot for McDevitt, but I think they can make it interesting for sure. All right, so let's go to the bottom half there. McCort and Berks Catholic. Start with you, Tyler. What do you see there? What do you like?
I like McCort here. A couple matches that kind of intrigue me is 107. Um, and then you got 139 that could, I think you got some highly ranked guys with Sam Herring. I think McCord has a lot more firepower. I don't think it's going to be as close as the Bishop McDevitt Faith Christian match, but
Agreed.
I think there are a couple intriguing matchups in that match.
Paul?
Yeah, I mean, a couple good matches, but I don't necessarily see a path for Burks to get over McCord here.
Yeah, I think just from an individual match standpoint, Tyler, you had talked about Trap Welch. It's like, okay, can he battle with Keegan potentially, right? Which I think
Tyden Schumann and Eli Herring, I think might be a decent match
for sure. But outside of that, I mean, maybe a Lindsay and maybe they pull up Melvin, or maybe they just stick with Pensiero. Or even Jaden O'Farrell.
I mean,
right?
I didn't see, Pensiero or Jaden O'Farrell against Carmine Lindsay. I mean, that's a great match either way.
I would agree with you there. I'd like to see that. But I agree. There's much less of a path, if any, for Burks to get over McCort. Obviously, we know how good McCort is. All right, so all three of us have McCort versus Faith in the finals. Let's jump over to AAA. Well, who did you have, Tyler?
I had Central Mountain and Nazareth. I'm going Nazareth Becca in the final.
Okay, so what do you? Let's say Nazareth and Central Mountain. What do you see there? We could get a Tahir Parkins versus Dalton Perry rematch from True Power.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
But
I mean, that's kind of the highlight for me in that match. I think Nazareth has too much firepower. Let's see.
Tyler, you need like a ginger ale or like some crackers or something.
Yeah, I need some soup.
Yeah, you look like death, dude. You look bad.
Chicken noodle soup.
Dude,
I do.
Shout out Tyler Morder for having type A bird flu and still being here.
It's not bird flu.
What is it? What do you got? You said
it's just flu A.
What's flu A? What's the difference between flu A and flu B and flu? I mean, it's flu sucks regardless.
I don't know how many flus there are. I'm not in the
flu A
field.
comes from Wuhan.
Yeah. All right, so Paul and I both had Boyertown versus Nazareth, right? Paul, you had that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think Nazareth. I think they match up really, really well against Boyertown. I think Central Mountain would be individual matches that could be a little bit more interesting, especially when you look at maybe Parkins versus Dalton Perry. But I think the winner of Nazareth Franklin Regional makes it to the finals, right? Whether that is Nazareth or Franklin Regional. I just don't think either Boyertown or Central Mountain has enough for either one of them. On the bottom half, Connellsville versus Bethlehem Catholic. At one time, this was a 1 versus 2, right? I just think Bethlehem Catholic has a little bit too much, but man, there's some really good individual matches that I really want to see. I think Nico Millie from Becca, him and Tommy Gretz, that's a 2 versus a 4. I'd love to see that. They did not hit at the Escape to Rock, but Amelie had the better place there. Gretz did not get on the podium. I think you go all the way through, there's some really good matches, right? But
Frenzy Petrovic.
I was just going to say Frenzy on Petrovic, even at 160.
Scanlon and Vilma.
Yep. That's another big one. Couple state medalists going at it. But I think Becca is too good in those spots where Collinsville is maybe not as strong, right? But there are some toss-up matches there. Again, I don't think it's cut and dry. I don't think it's Becca by a mile. I think it's Becca by 50 yards, right? I think it's going to be a lot closer than what maybe people expect. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I'd still have Becca by probably 20 points.
Yeah, I could see
Yeah,
20.
I agree.
See 20 points. And Becca does have that flexibility. But, you get Kai Vielma on like a Mason Thomas, you could bump him up. I think depending on where, Dillard's going to get bonus points. Actually, both of them could potentially get bonus points. Reef is, he got bonus points on Salamone, then he lost to him. But him and Nolan Rice, that is a 4 versus an 8. If that stands, if they wrestle Dillard versus Rice, that's a 4 versus 8. That's a toss-up in a lot of ways. But again, with the new scoring system, I think that some of these matches you could see some of these guys get bonus points.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so we all have Becca and Nazareth in the finals. Let's start there. These guys have wrestled before, so we kind of have an outline of what this would look like, but can you see Nazareth correcting or changing anything that they did in the last time that they wrestled? Tyler, you're shaking your head no.
I do not.
No.
I mean, they've wrestled 2 times in the last, well, let's see. Let me look right here. I don't think that there's really anything that Nazareth can do to close that gap. Maybe, yeah, I think it's pretty cut and dry that Becca's just a little better than Nazareth.
Paul, you agree?
Yeah, I just don't see where moves could happen that Nazareth makes up that difference. I really don't.
And this is coming from the guy who officiated in the state finals last year too.
Yeah,
that was pretty awesome.
If Cade Campbell could figure out a way to beat Charlie Scanlon this time, yeah, I just don't see how they could make up 15 points.
Yeah, it was 36-24 in the District 11 finals. The only decisions happened at 14, where Michael Good beat Hauer 10-7.
Sudden victory.
But that's for them.
That's for them, right? Scanlon versus Campbell, which was a 7-1 win in favor of Scanlon. And then at 285, they bumped up Gillahan from 215 to heavyweight. They plugged in Bozzi at 215. And Kazi from Nazareth was able to get a win over Gillahan 7-0. That to me was because Gillahan's he's pretty tough, but he was up at 215. So those two matches, other than Scanlon and Campbell, all went Nazareth's way. DeLuise got a decision over Simac. They forfeited at 172. Yeah, I don't see where they're able to really get much more than what they got. Maybe I don't know. You're right. Maybe Kate Campbell can figure it out and he gets a win there.
You just keep those guys down and don't give the forfeit up at 72. But
yeah, I was gonna say maybe
I still don't see how that makes up 12 points.
Wenrick can't get teched by Campbell, right? Wenrick cannot get teched by Campbell. Trock and Dillard was only a decision. Keanu is going to get bonus points regardless, I think. But if you put Campbell down on Ryder Campbell, okay, Ryder or Jack Campbell gets a win there. Parkins gets a win at 39. You put Brown in at 45 against Papsy or Mason Thomas. But then who do you put at 52, right? Against Frenzy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But you already gave up a fall there anyway, so I mean,
True. So at this point, you have nothing to lose. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see it happen a little bit different. And Becca lost a team point at 189 here. I didn't realize that. So it's really
you know,
30.
like if Nazareth keeps their guys down, does that make a difference if you? I mean, if you flip one of those decisions
Right.
from Nazareth, I don't
I
know.
don't
We'll
know.
see it.
And the other question is how healthy are guys like Deluise from Becca, because he's kind of been in and out. Yeah, I don't know, but I would tend to agree with you that it's a uphill battle for Nazareth to get past Becca. All right, well let's do it. Let's do the the match that everyone wants us to talk about. That's Faith Christian and Bishop McCort. 1 versus 2 in the nation, and we're gonna see it at Altoona Fieldhouse. It's likely gonna happen, but this one has all the makings for just a epic showdown of really high proportions, because you have so many different variables. Let's talk about the weight first. So, Paul, we had talked about Jack's Force going down to 27, which would be 130 on Saturday. Is that feasible? Can he actually do that?
You know, I would imagine. Um, I haven't seen his weigh-in plan, but I would imagine that it's feasible.
Right.
And
And the other question is, does he? Tyler, what do you think? Does it benefit them to put him on Joey
I
Bachman?
I think it does.
I think for Bishop McCort to win this match, that Jack's Forest has to wrestle Joey Bachman.
You're on record saying
I
that.
think that's the key. I think that's a key point for this match, for it to go McCourt's way. I think it
So
has to happen.
I
Yeah, I
think
agree.
100% Jax is going to be wrestling at 27, because if you look at his last weigh-in against Corey, he was 130.2. That's a
Yeah,
pretty
good
good
indicator.
indication that he is going to be wrestling 130 come Saturday against Faith Christian. So let's just go from top to bottom, shall we? Let's start at 107. So at 107, you're expecting Keegan Bassett to get bonus points against Shane Young. The question is that a tech fall, a major, or fall? What do you guys think? Tyler, you think that's a tech for him? I mean, Keegan's pretty consistent with getting techs.
I think that I think it has to be a fall. I think it's gonna.
You think he's going to work like hell to get a
I think
fall?
it's going.
You have to.
I think every one of those kids are going to be going out, instead of looking for tech falls, they're going to be looking for falls.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and
Yeah,
this
I
And
mean,
is
you have to.
I think it's the same way on the other side. Faith Christian's going to be looking to secure falls too.
yeah. Go ahead, Paul.
I mean, I know McCourt is like big on tech falls and stuff like that, but I also think that they know what's at stake, and I think they realize that they match up well, but they need as many bonus points as you can get, and
Mm-hmm.
those 1 point differences between a
They're going to
tech
add
fall and
up.
a fall are huge. I
Yeah,
mean, they're huge here.
yeah. Yeah, and so Keegan Bassett, and you look at the numbers. Number 2 in the state by us, Shane Young, number 16. Keegan's 7 by Matt Scouts, 13 by Flo. Keegan's gonna have to get bonus points, and he's gonna have to get a fall in order for this to have a chance of them getting the victory, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think we all are in agreement that he's gonna get bonus points. It's a matter of what level, right? And if Faith Christian can say, well, Shane Young did not give up bonus points, that's a huge win for them. The flip is so important here, Tyler, right? We talked about this. The flip here, and can you explain to the viewers why the flip is so important in this match?
So I think the flip's going to be an essential part of this match, because Bishop McCourt has to dictate who sends first at 127. Um, I think if McCourt wins the toss, depending on what weight they start at, so say they start at 127. They would want to select the even bouts that they send for to force the hand in Faith Christian to show who they're going to send at 127. Faith Christian, depending on how they weigh in, I think they could weigh Nathan Yoder in at 121 for a little bit of flexibility, but I think that flip's going to be essential to get Bachman on Forrest.
Yeah, I mean, so who else can they put out there, right? You don't bump Botero up to 27, right?
No.
So
I think if I my personal opinion, I think if Faith Christian wins the toss, they're going to forfeit to Jax.
really,
I I think,
okay.
and then bump Bachman up to 33 against Carfley, and then have Mason Wagner down at 39 to wrestle Sam Herring.
Okay, so regardless, if you're a Faith Christian, obviously you want Joey Bachman on Austin Carfley, whatever weight that is, whether it's 27 or 33, and you're
Yep.
okay giving up the forfeit if it's Jax at 127, right?
I am.
Okay. Um, so then the question becomes again, can Mason Wagner make 142, right?
What's his weigh-ins been like?
I don't know.
His last weigh-in, I believe, was 143.0, and I think that was his last match
Well,
was
it would have been Colecracker, right?
no, he
No, he
wrestled
didn't wrestle
in
Colecracker. Shane did. I can't. And if
he weighed 143.0 on he
that's
wrestled
pretty,
against Bristol in the
that's
championship. So
pretty
he would be
close.
I would think he would be able to make 142.
Yeah. So if he does, I think that match with Sam Herring. I think then Sam Herring. That's you look at him. He's number 2 in the state, 6 by Matt Scouts, 10 by Flo, right? But Mason Wagner's is no slouch, right? You look at where he's ranked. He's 2 in the state currently. I'm not saying that it's a toss up. I think Sam's definitely favored, but imagine if Faith only gives up a decision there, right? That's big for them. But imagine if Sam gets bonus points, that could change the trajectory of the match too, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think another big thing is Jackson Butler being healthy.
Yeah. I mean, we saw
Because
him.
I feel like you have to have him in there somewhere. That way you can stretch your lineup.
So you're saying, and if I'm hearing you correctly, and I don't want to get let's go back to 114 before we get too far ahead of ourselves because we talked about the flip. So 114, Eli Herring versus Freddie Bachman. Everybody on is going to say, well, yeah, of course Freddie Bachman's favored. Eli Herring is freaking dangerous. He's a number 3 ranked wrestler in the state. Freddie Bachman's the number 1. They're both freshmen. They're both ranked by Willie. Willie's got him 24. Freddie's number 1. Freddie's number 1 across the board, right? State and nation, both Willie and Flo has him number 1. So yes, Freddie is favored, but Eli Herring can keep it close. If he gives up a decision, I would still call that a win for McCort in a lot of ways. Would you guys agree?
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So, I
And
don't think
Eli's been on a little tear. Eli's been wrestling well since, I mean, he had a good midwinter mayhem, and
yeah,
he's just kept it going.
and he avenged that loss at
Virginia's.
LHAC, right?
Yep.
So I mean the 107 114, I don't think that's going to change, right? It's going to be Keegan Bassett versus Shane Young, Eli Herring versus Freddie Bachman, right? There's not really, you're not going to put Britt in and bump guys up. I don't think that makes any sense. At 21, who's McCort going to go with?
Sylphie's.
Yeah,
Sylphie's. I think they got to go Sylphie's Botero.
Sylvie's Botero. Okay.
Where's Carfleet's weigh-ins at though? Isn't Carfleet on his way down to 121?
I don't think there's any way he's going to make 121 personally. I think he's going to stay up at 127. I could be wrong there. But I think the option there is put Carfley up at 33, like we had just talked about, to get him away from Bachman. because that's really what you want to do. If you're McCort, you want to get him on Ratch or Reynolds, and Sam Herring on Lincoln Botero, or Stein, Jake, right? So that to me is where Faith is gonna have to probably juggle a little bit, right? So let's say in that scenario, Tyler, that we get Bachman versus Jax Forrest. How does that go?
I think Jax.
Yeah, but I mean, but how
But
much? I mean, is Jax gonna get?
I
I
I
mean,
think I think a major is fair. Seeing what Jax did to Aaron Seidel at Midwinter, and like I said, the stakes are high. These kids they're going to be hungry for that state title. I see a major.
Paul,
At least a major.
at least a major. It's just okay. Yeah, I mean,
Jax is a freak, man. He loves
Jax
to
is a
score
freak.
points.
Yeah, he is. He is a.
He
freak.
loves to score points. Bachman, I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't like to score points, but he
He's kept it close
wins
with.
close matches.
Yeah, yeah.
Jax Forrest ain't out there to win a close match
Okay,
with anybody.
so Tyler, let's say best case scenario. Okay, best case scenario: McCort gets 6 at 7. Faith gets 3 at 14. What are we saying at 21? What's the best case scenario for
I think Faith gets 6.
You think Faith gets 6 at 21? You're giving him 6 there. Okay, now let's say
Yep.
let's say 27. We have Bachman versus Jax, and we'll go major.
I'm going for.
You're going
McCort.
tech, or you going? What are you going here?
I'm going major.
Okay, I would go major there too. 33 then. So if Bachman stays at 27, 33 then becomes Austin Carfley against whether that's Ratch or if it's Reynolds. That's got to be
Has to be 6.
You're saying that has to be
6
6
for
for. Okay, Paul, would you agree?
McCort.
Yeah, it has to be 6.
Has to be 6. Okay, 39. Sam Herring versus Lincoln Botero, or if we think that Mason Wagner can get down, that best case scenario for McCord is Sam Herring gets like a major, right? On Wagner. He has to get a full 6 on anybody else other than Wagner. Agreed?
Agree.
Yeah, I'd count it as a decision.
I'm going decision as well.
For Herring over Wagner, right?
For Herring over Wagner.
Okay. 45, if Jackson Butler is healthy and ready to go, because he has not weighed in or wrestled since the Midwinter Mayhem. I know you said he was like fighting the flu. Do you plug Jackson in at 45 against Shane Wagner?
Yes.
I do.
Okay.
Yep.
So I guess it's going to be one of the Wagners. It's going to be Mason or Shane, right? That you're going to get there. I mean, Jackson just beat Dalton Perry, right? So, I mean, you would expect. Now that was a month ago, and that was a different, again, we haven't seen him, so we're not sure how healthy he is. But imagine if they get a win there. Imagine if they get a decision there. Now we're what type of position do we put him?
If Jackson Butler beats Shane Wagner there, then that might
be the match, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially if they get Forrest on, if they can dictate getting Forrest on
Bachman,
and then winning that toss up at 145 with Jackson Butler, I think it's all McCort.
Okay. So, but here's the thing. Everybody's shifting up, right? So Bassett's up, Mager's up, Melvin's up, right? And these aren't so. What are you saying? Bo Bassett at 52 against Max Stein.
Tech fall.
Okay.
Or a fall. That's a state runner up. That guy barely lost to Melvin Miller. No, doesn't matter. Okay.
Um,
I'm.
doesn't matter.
What do you think?
I'm
What do
just,
you think, Jeff? Come on.
you know, yeah, I'm thinking Tech Fall. I'm thinking Tech Fall.
Come on, Jeff. That's the state runner
That's
up.
the state runner-up.
I'm allowed to say it. You're not. Uh, okay, but I mean that's
Listen, I'm not taking anything away from Max Steen. He's a state runner up.
yeah. I mean he's going to
Bo
Penn. He's
Bassett is
It's Bo Bassett.
yeah. It's
all
Bo.
gas.
It's Bo. All gas, no brakes. All right. So then Magro up from 52 to 60 on Chase Hans. Those two. I mean, I think Magro is wrestling really really well right now. I would give him a decision there.
Yeah.
I'm going decision, but I would not be shocked if it would be a major.
Really, even up a weight against a guy like Chase Hans, who's
I mean, if you think about it, Magro's wrestled 60 until Powerade.
true. Yeah, you're
He
right.
was a state third at 160 last year.
So why even bother? I guess I mean, yeah, I guess you need him for descent. You can't have him be too high.
Yeah.
Districts is in a week.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let's go even further there. Melvin Miller up at 72 against Nick Singer. Now Nick Singer's number 2 in the state at 72, right? What do we got there?
Melvin by decision.
Melvin.
Decision. All right, three for Melvin, which I think that's fair. I wouldn't expect. Nick Singer is really good, right? We know how good he is.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if going up, Melvin's able to get more than 3 there.
Yeah.
So, but you also, I mean, so you're putting Jackson Butler in. What about here? And this is just me thinking out loud here. Is instead of bumping those guys up, so keep Bo at 45, Magro at 52, Melvin at 60. What about Jaden O'Farrell at 72? Does that make sense?
Nah.
I think you got to win. I think you got to win 39 to 72.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're McCort, you have to win 39
If
to
you're
72.
McCort.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden didn't look great the other night.
Who did he wrestle?
Sanitz.
Yeah.
Or Savitz.
From Corey. Yeah. Okay. So, but I don't know what Jackson Butler is gonna, where he's gonna be at. What we have not seen him since Midwinter Mayhem, right? So,
Yep.
I mean, obviously, their coaching staff knows better than we do, but that could potentially happen, right? Maybe O'Farrell goes in at 72. Or what about Penserio at 72 against Nick Singer?
I think I have Singer in that one.
Yeah, I know, me too. But I mean, does that? I don't know.
Yeah, that's big. You're taking
that's
a 6-point swing.
That's a 6-point swing in a match that could be a 2 or 3 point match.
Yeah. All right. 89. So is Penseiro going up to 89 then, and trying to fight?
Yeah, and I mean, if we're talking about like what we're saying so far, I would say Penseiro at 89, and Adam Waters just pins anybody who walks out on the mat against him.
Yeah, I mean,
he's getting a fall at 89, regardless of who it is.
Okay. I agree with you there. So then 215. Gordon.
Jason Singer by fall.
You think Singer fall there? Tyler, you agree?
Yeah, I don't think it matters who walks out against him. It's going to be a fall.
Okay. All right. What about heavyweight? Can Rodriguez? I mean, let's not forget Caleb Rodriguez had a couple of really big wins in the start of the season. Maybe he has not been wrestling like that as of late, but Offendian is number 8 in the nation right now. Is that a decision? Is that a major? What do you guys think?
I either think this is going to be a decision or a fall.
I tend to agree with you there. Tyler, you agree? I can't see a major or a tech.
I agree, but Rodriguez has not been pinned this year. So, I mean, I think in a dual meet setting, you're going to try to not get pinned. and not put
Mhm.
yourself into a position to get pinned. I agree, pin or decision, but I'm leaning more towards a decision.
Okay, but that's huge if you're McCort, right? If
That's
Rodriguez only
big.
gives up a
Yeah.
decision there. Okay, so that's kind of best case scenario for McCourt. What is the best case scenario, Tyler, for Faith Christian?
Um, I think best case for Faith is keeping, we've said it earlier, Bachman off of Forrest, and then like I
So if
said,
you win
I think that
if they win the toss,
if you win that toss, you're staying away from that matchup.
okay,
And then, I mean, you would go 6 for 6 at 27-33. You limit your bonus at 39. Hopefully win 45 if Jackson Butler is in the lineup with
mm-hmm.
either it would be Shane Wagner, and then limit the bonus with, you know, maybe Stein try to slow Bo down a little bit and not give up bonus there. Um, Nick Singer, I mean, I'm not gonna say I'd be shocked, but you never know what could happen here at state duels. I mean, anybody can catch fire. Maybe they bump Melvin up. Melvin's giving up a little bit of weight. Maybe win that match. But yeah, I think the toss is huge for this match.
There's so many question marks in this match. So many.
There really is a ton of question marks.
If this guy's here, if that guy's here, if he's healthy, if he's wrestling good.
Yeah, I mean,
And I think both coaches know that.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, it's a chess match, and I think Coach Clymer has always said that. I read that article in Flow, and he kind of sees where Jax is coming down, right? I just I wonder about getting too crazy, right? And I, how many times have we seen it where coaches try to get too creative, and it comes back to bite them in the ass, right? Um, I just
I think if you wrestle straight up, Faith Christian is favored. I think McCourt has to make a move and stretch from middle up, um, to
They're
try to
just so
win this
strong
goal.
there.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would agree, but I would especially now. But let's just say Mason Wagner is not down. That changes things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
if he's not down, then you're looking at, okay, let's expose 33, 39, and 45, right?
If he's not down, you might not have to stretch.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm saying is if he's not down, you may not have to stretch, and then you get your guys that are actual
Yeah, I
weight.
mean, you get Mason on Hans.
Yeah.
And
That's a
Yeah,
true
but
power ranking.
if he's not down, then you're losing a very, very strong guy in your lineup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That makes a huge difference.
Right.
I mean, if I'm Clymer, I'm like, dude, you got.
I mean, I
you
think
got to make it.
Yeah, and I think
cut
Jax
your
is definitely down for 30, right? The question is Mason going to be down to make 42, right? And
Yeah.
what type of, I mean, he's big, right? What type of Mason Wagner are we going to see at 42? Is he going to be completely sucked out and sucked down? Where like I don't know, right? And again, same with Jackson Butler. I think the 45 is the more we talk about it, I think 45 is pretty critical, right? 45 and 27, right, are kind of the most critical bouts and matchups. Would you guys agree?
Yes.
Yep.
I think 7-14 set. I think 21 set. But 27, 33, 39, 45, 52, really all the way up
60, 72.
all the way up to 89, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are all kind of question marks there. 215 and heavyweight, I think those are pretty much set. I think you got bookends, 7-14 set, 215 heavyweight set. Then everything else in the middle, it's kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, I think 89 set too.
89 set too, yeah.
Why you're saying Pensiero?
With
Definitely.
Waters.
It doesn't matter who's
No,
out
I know
there.
he's set, but I'm just saying for lineup purposes, like if you're already saying it's set, you're already giving up 6, then like, would you rather have Penserio or O'Farrell or Melvin on Nick Singer, right? I mean, obviously you want Melvin, but who does that expose down low, right? Is that Jackson Butler? I mean, Penseiro was pretty close with Brady Collins at one time.
And I think it's going to depend on the start weight too. You mentioned earlier in the AAA segment that start weight's going to dictate a lot, and I think it will too. I mean, I've done this duel a couple different ways, and I think there's a lot of questions.
Yeah. So which different ways? So who do you have it then? Because I know you've done it a couple ways with both teams coming out on top. And what's the score differentials that you have, Tyler?
I think I had 30-29 Bishop McCort if they win the toss.
Okay.
And then I think I had 36-27 if they lost the toss.
Paul, are you kind of in that same boat?
Yeah, very, very similar the whole way.
Okay. Well, we're gonna see here. Whether you hate private schools or you just despise like what these two programs represent, you cannot deny the fact that this is going to be a damn good dual meet with some really high level wrestling. Like, that's just
absolutely.
If you're a fan of wrestling, put your political and your feelings aside. This is going to be one hell of a showdown. And as we mentioned, there are so many factors such as the flip and guys getting down to weight and who's healthy. I mean, there's just, and a lot of it we're not going to know until Saturday, right? So I guess we'll see. But overall, I mean, how many of these guys are ranked nationally? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I have 11 guys in the top 10.
Yeah. How many D1 commits? 1, 2, 3, 4,
11.
5, 6,
11. With more to come.
And that's 2 injured. That's with Weidenmoyer and Owen McMullen out of the lineup this year. So that would be 13.
Yeah. Could you imagine? I mean, Weidenmoyer would definitely make a difference here, and I don't know where Owen would be at weight wise, but yeah, that's it's gonna be good. So anything else to add here, guys? I mean, we kind of broke it down really good there. I think we've got our opinions and our kind of final thoughts there. Well, actually, let's make picks here. All right, who do you guys are picking? Tyler, start with you. McCort or Faith? Can't believe you guys almost let me stop the podcast without you guys actually giving freaking. That's what everyone's here for. Tyler,
whoever wins the toss.
Oh
Jeff.
My gosh! Come on, that's some bird flu type stuff here. Come on, give me.
I'm going McCort.
Paul,
I'm going McCort.
You seem pretty confident in that.
I think the way they can manipulate their lineup just really helps.
Yeah.
I'm going McCort. I'm going McCort as long as the stars align with what we're saying. Jackson Butler's in the lineup. Mason Wagner's down to 39.
There's no ifs. I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, I could say McCort
it's
right now.
That close.
It is that close. I agree that's that close. But I mean, the margin of victory, you have, Tyler, you had McCort by 1, but if Faith wins, you have them winning by like 5 or 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
if everything we're seeing on paper happens on Saturday morning, then I think McCort wins.
I would agree with you there. I just don't know if that's feasible. I would feel a lot better if I had seen Jackson Butler wrestle and or weigh in since Midwinter Mayhem. And
I wish I had a weigh-in sheet right in front of me.
And I wish I knew.
And the referee flipped, and we knew who won the toss.
Yeah, but that would be a lot easier. But don't worry, we are going to do.
I'll get my disc.
Yeah, go
get right now.
I got a cold cracker disc right here. We got a cold cracker disc. There we go. Paul, you want to flip it here?
Flip it. Faith's green, McCourt's red.
Yeah,
flip it.
Here we go. Green. Greens.
We know Jeff's pick.
Oh man, it's gonna be fun. Tyler, don't come because I don't want you to spread bird flu to all the wrestlers. Please.
Oh, you didn't get me a pass?
No,
Man.
I did not get you a pass. You're not
Second year in a
officiating.
row.
You're not officiating. You're not part of the media.
Second year in a row.
Yeah, you better ask Dane if you can work a table. That's what you gotta do.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do.
Shit. This is gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be
Hold
a good
on,
one.
Jeff. You didn't tell us your pick.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, jeez, I forgot. I'm going Faith. I don't know. I something tells me that the stars aren't going to align. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Guess we'll see. And it's going to be damn close.
Listen, I've been crucified for my picks before. So.
Have you been? I don't feel like you have. I don't think anyone really cares who we say is going to win. Everyone knows. Everyone has an opinion. And you cannot actually say, "Oh my gosh, you're crazy. Why would you pick?" I mean, they're 1 and 2 in the nation. So
yeah, it's gonna be.
You're not going to see too many dual meets like this. I mean,
in your lifetime,
I don't think you ever have in
the state finals.
It's
in Double A.
That determines who's going to be the best team in the nation.
Right, which is again unheard of. It's never happened where the state finals in Pennsylvania in Double A have been number 1 and 2 in the nation. It's never happened. So, it's epic. But all right, well, Tyler, you go get yourself a warm bath or get some I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the Epsom salt in the bathtub.
Get yourself together, bud. You're.
I'll text you.
All right. Yeah, please don't. Please don't. We don't need that, bud. Great talking to you guys. Appreciate you guys jumping on. Check out War Up. Check out our updated state rankings. We got updated regional state rankings. We got updated dual team rankings. And after we're done with this, while Tyler's in the tub, I'm going to be working on girls rankings. We're going to update that to get our girls rankings out before the weekend. So, everyone bitches about paying for subscriptions and stuff. You're getting a ton. And by the way, you get other things. You get Willie Saylor and Matt Scouts. You get Inline Wrestling Club. You get IA Wrestle. It's a no-brainer. So, all right, guys. We'll see you this weekend. Hopefully not see you, Tyler.
Yep. You'll see me. Thanks for having me, man.
All right. Shout out, Amy.
Thanks, Jeff.
Shout out. Yep. See ya.